Yes, it's happening. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my show. I am Kathie J. I hope you're having a good day so far. I hope you're having a good day. Anything can change in a minute, but today, I hope so far you're having a good one. I got to send a huge thank you to everybody who's staying connected with us on social media, who's been subscribing to our YouTube page, Kathie J, and also for going and leaving us viewer emails at kathiejshow.com. Thank you very much. I love hearing what you think of the show and other shows that you're recommending. My producers and I are on it, so thank you very much for all that recommendation. Okay, so also, here's the thing. We're talking today about something that a lot of us are, and a lot of people you know are, and we're talking about being people pleasers, okay? So are you one of them? Because people pleasers tend to confuse being a people pleaser with being a good person, okay? So here's the thing. You can be a good person without pleasing everybody around you, and that's what my guest is here to say. Please welcome. We've had her on before. I'm so glad she's back, everybody. This is Teri Karjala. She's our Transformational Life Strategist. Yay, Teri! Hello. Okay, so Teri, thank you for being here.
Yes.
I love the shoes, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's like, yes, good job. Okay, so Teri, tell everybody the people pleasing.
Yes.
Like, what is people pleasing?
You know what? It is an emotional need that we have to people please, and it's really at our own expense.
Absolutely.
And so we're, it's largely unconscious, and it starts, think about like when we start out, the first 8 years of our life is an incredible time because everything is getting planted, those programs are getting established.
Exactly.
And so our brain forms from the reptilian part of the brain up to the frontal cortex. So the first years we are planting the foundation.
And that's
in
so
every
hard because
aspect.
So many of us are sleep deprived and not giving the attention that we need to the kids when that is the biggest time that they're forming. Yes, their brains are forming, their habits are forming. Yes. So that it is a part of people pleasing.
Yeah, well, I'll even tell you just based on what you just said, like, the technology that we have now.
Yeah.
Right? So when we have, when we think about, some children are grown up or brought up in safe and, healthy, environments, and it's fantastic. They know their needs are going to get met.
Yes.
But there are some kids that are brought up in unsafe or unstable environments, and they're not sure how their needs are going to get met. And so they have to figure out very quickly on what is it they have to do in order to get their needs met. And so if we think about people pleasing, it is a way in which we've been conditioned to get our needs met.
Right. Well, see, but when you say that, so it's not like I'm doing it on purpose. It's not like I'm aware I'm trying to manipulate someone to get my needs met.
Unconscious.
Okay, it's just all of a sudden I feel like this is how I should respond or react to you is in this kind of pleasing way.
Right. So again, foundations are being met early on.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids have parents that, may just be emotionally unavailable.
Okay.
Right. And technology is playing a huge part in that into our current day and time right now. But if it's unstable, or if the parent's emotionally unavailable, so that child is now coming to that parent being like, hey, pay attention to me, because they have to learn kind of to earn the right for love and affection.
I agree, Teri, but what you just explained is every parent. Like a lot of times they could be unavailable when a kid is coming to them and saying, hey, look at this, watch me do this cartwheel.
If the majority of the time, right? Like if we are the majority of the time getting those needs met.
Right.
And again, those first foundation of that time, but if we are fairly consistent, not an issue. But if it's more like when it's emotionally unavailable, emotionally inconsistent.
But what about all of the ones like I could say my mom and dad, they was pretty good. It was good. Yeah. She was emotionally available. She was there. But something in me was trained to say yes, to people please, to be there. And I think it was watching the other women in my life do that. So when we come back, I want to discuss the difference between the people pleasing that women are faced and challenged with versus men. Okay, we'll be back. The Colorado Lottery is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Colorado Lottery, play on. Welcome back to the Kathie J Show, everybody. So today we're talking about people pleasers. This is our Transformational Life Strategist. This is Teri Karjala. Yay! You can find her on social media at Talking with Teri. Now, Teri, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about the people pleasing.
Yes.
There is a difference between how women and men are brought up with how they people please, right?
Yes. Well, and I think women too, we are watching and, like you just said, we're watching and mimicking also our parents, right?
Yes.
And so if our mom was a people pleaser, grandmothers, you know, or other people, you know, in our lives. And we see that behavior, right? We can also adapt that. And again, once we start engaging in this behavior, it's very it's very rewarding, right? Because it's like
engaging in the saying no or saying in the yes.
Like, yeah, in the yes, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I think to give and to receive love is like our human rights. I mean, like our human drive, right? And so when we say yes, it just gets reinforced, right? And it's all these like yummy endorphins that get pumped in our brain, like, yeah, that was great.
Right.
So I do think it gets reinforced over and over and over.
Okay, but Teri, it's bad though. Even though the love and it's happy, it's getting reinforced and everything's good.
And again, everything serves in a certain direction, right? But it becomes a problem when it starts impacting us in a negative way.
Okay, so like,
then and once it starts impacting us, and where we're always saying yes, and we're being bogged down, and we're
that's a lot of
being
us.
exhausted, and we're being overwhelmed by these things.
But a lot of people would say they're not people pleasers, that's just them. So what are characteristics that point out what a people pleaser is?
Obviously accommodating everyone else's needs before our needs, right? Sometimes, low self-esteem, rarely,
they would
if
never
ever,
admit they have low self-esteem. They would never say that's why
true.
I'm doing
that
it.
is true.
Right,
But
I'm
that's
just
a
doing it
characteristic.
'cause I'm a nice
that's a
person.
characteristic, right?
Right.
But rarely, if ever, do they say no, right? And a lot of this is about they're so afraid to disappoint other people, right? They have a hard time setting boundaries. They have a hard time setting limits around their time.
But I want people to, it's not that I want them to like me. I like people and I know that they need help.
Yes.
So I'm the person that always says yes.
Yes.
You know, I'm the person that always gets in trouble. And everyone else is happy except for me. And then I'm going home exhausted at night. But I don't do it out of low self-esteem or wanting them to like me, or maybe I do and I'm not aware of it. What is it?
Well, and again,
tell me, Teri, what's wrong with me?
But it also gets reinforced, right? Because it feels really good when you're doing
does.
this. But the problem is at the expense of your own health, your happiness, because this becomes exhausting, right?
Yeah, it does.
So let me demonstrate, because I think a lot of times we have a hard time saying no.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because we feel guilty, we're afraid, and some folks are driven by fear, with the fear of abandonment.
Yes, you don't want the people to be mad at you if you say no. You don't want to, or fear of losing out if you say no.
Before we go to break, let me just go and demonstrate a little exercise for you.
Okay, so this is what it feels like if you keep saying yes.
Yeah, so when you're not saying no, okay, so I'm going to have you just put your hands out like this. Okay.
I'm not saying no.
And so
I'm not saying no.
Let me just demonstrate here, what happens when we
I see what you're doing.
stop and you just take it on, right? We're taking it on.
This is a friend's things that I'm helping with. Oh, I needed to go and get
all of
that
these
picked up to help somebody.
Yes, and
the girls need help with something for class. And don't forget to get the thing from the HOA. And I told you I'd mow the lawn.
That's the best
and
part
now
right
I'm going to go out and poop scoop.
Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to hold these books, because this is what it feels like when we start to say yes to everything.
But we get used to holding this, Teri. This now becomes what we hold.
I know.
And I'll adjust to it and my body will get hurt. And I'll just make this happen, right?
Yep.
And that's the problem.
And so that's the problem, because we, as a result of this, we're getting overwhelmed, we're getting stressed, we're saying yes to everything. We're not having that boundary to say yes to what means yes, and no to what means no.
Okay.
Because a lot of these books,
yeah,
what do these books represent for all of us? I mean, that varies for each and every one of us. That could be kid stuff, that could be
anything.
All sorts of things.
Right, Teri. But here's what I think is funny is even like when you put them on, I was like, I can handle this, which you'd say when you're taking on something, I can handle it. But the more I'm holding these, I'm like, cut to commercial. So we're gonna cut to commercial, but something tells me you're gonna make me hold these, aren't you?
Agreed.
Oh my gosh, okay, we'll be right back as fast as we can. Ramos Law is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. He's a medical doctor and a lawyer. Ramos Law, what makes us different makes us better. Okay, welcome back to the Kathie J Show, everybody. So let's face it, it's hard to say no.
So we were talking offline on the Facebook Live here, is that these are getting exhausting.
Yeah, I'm shaking a little. Yeah.
Right? And you had said that I'm having health issues as a result of saying yes.
Yes, like my arms are tight now, my shoulders are tight, everything is.
So it absolutely has a ripple effect. And when you're not 100%, guess what? When you come back home to your family, you're not 100%.
Oh no, I know, Teri. When I used to come home, they used to call me Mean Mommy because I would be so exhausted when I got home that it was like, get to bed. I've got to be up at 4.
Yeah.
You know, like Mean Mommy comes home.
Yeah.
Can I take these off?
Okay, so let's do this. So you know what's interesting is that when I put this on, and I of course we said it was a demonstration, but interesting enough, I put this on you without any rejection from you.
Right?
You're like, you're like, you didn't ask like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? This is getting heavy.
I said
like,
yes.
You just were like, I was like, this is. I could have put another whole bookload.
Get these off of me. Okay. Oh God, I feel so much better.
So let's do this. So first of all, let's ask this question. One is, how do we keep these from getting on in the first place?
Right, because we're so taught to say yes. Let me help you.
Yes.
Right.
See, look at
you can't go through life being selfish.
Okay. There was some disclaimer, right, that we like did before the show. That
somebody grabbed my. Yeah, right. I didn't sign any paperwork. Y'all saw it. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
So, but it does, right? It does
I don't
have
like
an
how
impact.
I felt at all.
No, but
Right.
that's the reality of what we're doing, right? And this is so for folks that are at home. Think about, what are these books representing in your life?
Right.
Okay. Are they ones that fill you up? When you say yes, are these the things that fill you up and bring joy to your life? Are there ones that we can, so how do we keep them, how do we get them off is another way of looking at this, okay? So let's look at our books. Let's identify what these responsibilities are. And if there's someone else that can take this book,
right,
let's do it.
Like family members that need to step up and help out.
Yes.
Like that kind of stuff. Like, so you need to start saying, this is my responsibilities that drive me crazy. This is family. This is work.
Yes.
That's what you would do with your books? You separate the books. That's kind of a great idea.
And then look at, so how do I keep these from taking on these? So that means setting boundaries, and that means saying no.
We learned about boundaries.
And no is, believe it or not, no is a full sentence.
No.
Yes, it is. It is. It's an absolutely.
No.
I have one of those the little no buttons, right?
Yes.
But I think that we have put in so much pressure, and let's be real. We were taught very early on to listen to authority, right, and do as what we're supposed to be asked of us, right? So we're conditioned very early on to say yes to everything and everyone. And honestly, like you said earlier, like we want to fit in, we want to help out, right? But I think when we start to set those boundaries, you'll be surprised in when it's actually allows us to identify and look at, what's filling us up and what's not.
Okay, because you're trying to tell a people pleaser who already says, I'm fine, everything's fine, it's bad, let me help you, and then they go home, I sure wish I had a little more time to myself today.
Yeah.
You're telling people that don't know how to say yes or no to say yes to themselves, and it's just the hardest thing. So you're saying first really they need to recognize I am doing a lot, and I need to see where it all categorize it, right? Yeah. And then have them recognize, because you're really trying to get through to somebody to break a pattern that they're not aware is killing them.
Yes.
It's kind of what it is, right? Okay,
but it starts with a small step, and we're going to be talking about unloading, like what are some things that you can be doing. But the first thing is just asking these questions, like, like, does this fill me up? If I say yes to this, is it something that I really want to do? Because so often we will say yes to things, and then what happens is that when it comes time to deliver on their results or whatever it is, they're like kicking and screaming, like, why did I tell Kathie J I would do this? This is ridiculous.
Every single time.
Oh my gosh. And then energetically, that takes us and goes whoop, right? And then we're doing it out of like, oh my gosh, obligation versus really for joy.
And it could be even things like concerts. Like I'll find myself the day up going, why did I say yes to this? I just want to stay home.
But then you think about how you show up to that concert, right? After
you
get into the thing, you're like fine. But once you're there, you're fine. But like
that was a good thing. But what I needed to do then was think about all the other things that wasted my time to make me exhausted where I couldn't enjoy the concert.
Yes.
That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. So the things that don't serve us, that take away that time, take away that energy, that deplete us, right?
That made me tired, so I wanted to stay home.
Because so often I see people getting taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And I have a good friend. I have a good friend, and I'm very aware of what's happening, so I never take advantage of him. But he has so many people taking advantage of him because he says yes, and I'm like, oh. And I just I feel pain for him. Yeah. Right? Because I'm like, oh, just say no.
Just say no. My husband was a people pleaser, and I had to tell him, just start saying no. Yeah. Say no to me.
Yeah.
You know, he still says yes a lot, but you know, you got to work on it.
And if we just slow down the process, it's a process. If we just slow it down, and so instead of saying yes, just say, you know what, hey Kathie, let me get back to you on that.
Oh.
Let me check my calendar. Let me just, and then that way we buy some time, so we're not under the gun. We're not under pressure
But
to
Teri,
say yes.
I've done that, but then it hovers over me. Like I should just tell him yes. I'm going to say yes anyway.
But if we can get the language in there and say, okay, let me just ask these couple questions for myself. Like, is this going to serve me? Is this going to be a contribution to myself?
I love that you asked that.
Is it going to fill me up? Is it going to drain me? Is this, really going to serve? And if so, then by all means say yes, right? But if you're saying, what is driving this yes? And if it's like, I gotta because I'm gonna make somebody mad or upset, like we can get some language in there so that we can slow it down, get the language so that we can be comfortable in saying no.
And you know, a big reason why you need to learn to say no is because your kids are watching what you're doing, and you don't want them going down the same path.
And here's the thing, when you say no once, you realize that you still have a heartbeat. You're like,
yes, right. The world didn't end.
And then you're like,
exploded.
and then what happens is we get some more evidence. And then we say no again. We're like, oh my gosh, that's great.
Right.
And I get some more, and I get some more. And then we start to condition ourselves in a new reality.
Baby steps, slow process.
Steps, yes. And then it's like, okay, now I'm like, okay, now I can say yes, I can say no.
And now
I'm like, okay, that's a no.
All right,
like,
so now I'm going to tell you no. You need to be quiet now because we're going to go to commercial. When we come back, Teri. Oakwood Homes is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Oakwood Homes, building happiness. Welcome back to the Kathie J Show, everybody. So when it comes to when it comes to people pleasing, you'll never reach your goals if you don't learn to say no, everybody. This is Teri Karjala. She is talking with Teri.com. Teri is a transformational strategist coach, which is amazing, and I love the fact that you're here today. We were talking about people pleasing, and our producer Mary just brought up a really good point. When you don't speak up, when you just sit back and say no and say yes all the time, not only are you hurting your health, you're hurting your voice.
Yeah.
You're not. There's no
absolutely.
representation.
Well, and you don't have the backbone, right? I always tell people, like, you cannot be powerful and in your power if you're always giving it away.
Right.
Right? And so we have got to reclaim our power, step back into our power, our voice, and really, say yes to us.
Right.
When we start taking care of ourselves, and that could be a whole nother segment.
Yeah, right. Right, you're right.
But when we start saying yes to ourselves, it's so
everything
much easier.
changes.
Everything changes, and we do increase our joy. We do increase our happiness. We do increase, a place of gratitude. And so I think that's where we all strive to do. And I think we've just been brainwashed.
Yeah, to be stretched thin. And everyone.
And that's been our reality.
Yes.
When we can choose a different reality.
And everyone needs help. Everyone needs, and so it's like, I don't want to rock the boat. Let them have their way. I'm not that person. But should that person be standing up a little more for themselves at the end of the day? All right.
Absolutely.
All right. So you have a plan.
So let's unpack before we act. Okay. So ACT. So the first one is the awareness. Okay. What is driving this people pleasing? So take a pen and paper. Jot this down. Like what drives me? The more that we can become consciously aware of the reasons that we're driving this, we can then start making a choice around this.
Okay.
Which leads us into number 2, which is C, is choice.
Okay.
Right. Then we can start making choices. And I love actually following the energy, and that's a whole other topic. But we can actually start saying yes to what means yes and no to what means no. And I will teach people some kinesiology testing on how to follow energy, which is really darn fun.
I love energy.
We should do this sometime.
I'm down.
We should do this, and we could.
Okay.
But it starts saying yes because then it's your choice, your voice.
All right.
Right.
So that's C.
The C.
Okay.
And the last one is the T, which is tame your brain. And that is really about just slowing everything down, right? We don't have to get all worked up about it.
Right.
And really it's quieting ourselves to go inward. And I think just going back into that internal guidance system that we have and just listening.
Yeah.
So often we're just like boom, 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 boom. But we can just slow it all down. Tap into the internal guidance system, say yes to what means yes, no to what means no, help outsource, because we can then step back into our power. And it starts with one no.
Right. I was going to say your power is that word no, everybody. Yes. Right. And don't be scared to use it. You'll be shocked. You'll be like, wow, There wasn't an explosion. Everything happened.
And
right.
nothing happened,
Nothing
right?
happened.
And then what we start to do is retrain the people that we've trained for them to say yes.
I'm not the person anymore.
If they know that Kathie J is always the one that says yes,
they always come.
Let me just tell you, you attract that into your life.
Absolutely. And then more people are
and then they're like, here.
Here's all these books again. Everybody.
Because if I can get rid of my books some other way, I will find the person to get rid of my books.
Amen. Right. The books are going to find a house. They're going to find a shelf to go on. Right. Everybody, please connect with Teri. You can check out her website. It's talkingwithteri.com. And Teri, you're available for like counseling. I mean, you help.
So yeah, we do. I do one-on-one coaching and then group coaching as well.
Oh no, you're amazing. Your story and what you've done. Your daughter is here in Brooklyn today, and you know, children are you know, a mirror of their parents. So she's a great kid. So thank you, Teri, for coming. And everybody, Talking with Teri is where you can find her. But just learn to say no. Find your no.
Just one.
Just one. Just take one. Have a good day.